Hi, my name is Caroline Bretherton and I teach a class at Duke called Get Cooking. Now, normally we teach here, the beautiful chef's kitchen, but for the last year and a half you guys have been stuck in your dorm rooms, so I'm hoping to bring some of our classes to you. I've simplified some of the recipes somewhat. You can learn the full extent of them if you come to one of the classes next semester. We're just going to make something that you can make at home over the holidays or in your dorm room, and we're starting with a simple stir fry. The reason I like to start with this is because it teaches knife skills, which are actually one of the basics of the kitchen. So we have a number of things here that you can pick up at your local grocery store. I've got some soy sauce, some rice wine, here I have sesame oil and chili oil mixed together, some ginger, some garlic, a pinch of sugar. I've got some wheat noodles that I've pre-cooked, and I've got some peeled and deveined shrimp. I'm just going to start by making a quick marinade. In a bowl, you want to take about a tablespoon of soy sauce. Going to need some more for later, so I'm going to keep half of that. A tablespoon of Chinese rice wine. There's about a quarter of a teaspoon of sugar in here. It's just to balance out some of the other flavors. And here we literally have like a quarter of a teaspoon of chili oil and a quarter of a teaspoon of sesame oil. I've actually brought this to show you because this is, everyone is really into this brand at the moment. Well, not brand, but this type of thing at the moment. This is chili crisp. You can add this to your dish afterwards, or you can just, if you just need the chili oil, you can just scoop off a bit of the oil that's on top of the crisp underneath, and so that way you get to use the jar for two types of things, the crisp and the oil. Okay, so we have this, and I'm going to add some ginger and garlic. Again, we've got a clove of garlic, and I'm going to show you guys, I don't know if you can see down here, this is one of the first things we learn in the class is how to prepare garlic. You take the root off with the base of your knife, and then you just press the flat blade of the knife and use your palm to gently bash it like that. And what will happen then is that, hopefully, if your nails are at all sharp, all the peel will come off in one go. Similarly, with ginger, I've seen people and they scrape it with a teaspoon and all that. It's not expensive ginger. Just chop the skin off with a knife. Don't take too much of the actual flesh, but it's fine like that. Okay. Take these away. I have a little bowl here. And I'm going to use half in the marinade and half in the stir fry. Here, I have one of my favorite instruments in the kitchen. It's a microplane. It's a tiny little grater. You can crush garlic, you can chop garlic, but grating garlic is the best thing. So I'm taking half of the clove now into here. I'll use the other half later. I'm going to take half of this ginger as well. Just grate it in the middle of the grater, and you can see that it'll just come out on the other side like this. And then I'm going to just scrape that in. I'm going to keep that for later. And give it a little stir. And then I'm going to add my shrimp. I've got 6 really nice deveined wild Argentinian, I think they are, shrimp here that I got at a grocery store. You could buy your own shrimp and buy your own whole shrimp and peel them yourself, which we do in the class, but this is just for convenience sake. I'm going to use my hands because that's what I do at home. Obviously, if you're cooking for someone else, don't use your hands. And we're just going to leave that to marinate for as long as you have. Like if you have half an hour, you can cover it in cling film, put it in the fridge. But I'm just going to put it to the side and get to the main point of this class, which is knife skills. So we need a variety of vegetables. We're using these cooked thin noodles. So what you want to do is to try and match your noodles to the vegetables. They need to be a similar kind of consistency and texture, so you don't have like big round discs of carrot that are trying to cook at the same time. So I'm going to take a variety of vegetables. I'm going to take a little bit of zucchini, literally about that much, because this is just for one person. And with a zucchini, or any round vegetable, if you cut a little bit off the front like that, and then you put it down, you've made a much safer basis for cutting across. It's not going to roll. It's not going to cut your finger. You're not going to cut your finger by accident, basically. You then use your knife. This is another thing we teach in the first class, and you run it down the side of your flat finger like that. You don't leave your fingers like that, or you're going to take the end of your finger off. You keep them tucked in like that, and if you want to use your thumb to steady it on either side, you can do that too. Cut them as thin as you can. Obviously, some people are going to cut them thinner than others. Take the last bit like that. You can get rid of that other side as well. And then just stack them into a little pile. Hold the pile together, either side like this, and cut it into little matchsticks. So you're mimicking the shape of the noodle, so that when you come to stir fry, you have a nice kind of mix of vegetables and noodles through the thing. Now, carrots are interesting. The way I like to do the carrot is slightly different, but it's very, very easy. You just take a peeler, peel the carrot like this. She said, trying to go as fast as possible. And then using the peeler, just peel down like this, okay? And what you do is you're going to get very fine ribbons of carrot, which again will cook very quickly. The whole idea of a stir fry is to cook things as quickly as possible. You don't want them to stew. You don't want them to make a lot of extra steam or moisture. You want a high heat, and you want to stir fry them, okay? So there's your carrot. Next thing is a pepper. I'm going to take a red one because I like the color. Now, if you're cooking for one, I really recommend getting a bag of these little peppers rather than one big pepper, because they keep much better than half a slimy pepper in the fridge. And you can use them, you can eat them raw because they're very sweet. You can put them in salads. You can just use a couple at a time. Again, just take it, cut it in half like that. Take the end off and the seeds out, and run your knife along like that. Now, because these are similar textures, all these vegetables, they're all going to cook at the same time in the pan. If you have vegetables that take slightly longer to cook, then you obviously put them in first, and then you put the sort of more watery vegetables in later. Basically, the more dense the vegetable, the longer cooking time it takes. And the last thing I'm going to do is just put one mushroom in. This is a nice chestnut mushroom. I'm probably not going to take the skin off this. Normally, my rule of thumb for mushrooms is if the skin comes off easily, it's probably old enough to want to take off, but this is not really coming off. So I'm just going to trim that edge off. And then I'm just going to go underneath and very finely slice it like that. Okay? So we now have all our vegetables, which are here. We have our noodles. We have our shrimp, which have been marinating. We're just going to pretend they've done it for half an hour. I'm going to start to cook. So first thing to do is to turn the stove on. I can never work these stoves out. They always make me laugh. Sometimes they're on, sometimes they're off. This is an induction stove, so it's going to get hot fairly quickly. I'm touching it because I've been cooking for 25 years and I feel no pain. Don't touch your pan at home because that might hurt. I'm going to use a little of this. I really like this. It's sunflower oil, and I use it for any neutral oil because it's very light. It has a very high burning temperature, so it won't smoke as much. I'm going to just use a little blob of that, probably about a tablespoon, and just heat the pan up, which may take a while. When you're waiting for things, they always take a while, right? I want it to sizzle when it goes in. So we have the shrimp here. I've got my very cute little tongs, which I really like, so I don't know why I bought those, but several of them. Okay, I'm getting a slight sizzle. I don't know if you can see in the pan, there's a little bit of sizzling going on there. I'm going to do that. I'm going to save this marinade, and I'm going to put it back into the noodle dish right at the end because it's got all that lovely flavor in it. There's absolutely no need to throw that away. The fact that it's been on raw shrimp really won't matter because it's going to cook again in the marinade. Okay, so you can hear now that I'm already getting that lovely sizzle. I'm just going to pan fry these for about a minute on either side so they have a nice cooked off finish, but they're not actually cooked through, because then we're going to do the vegetables and then put the noodles back in. Okay. So you can tell with shrimp, these are a bit difficult to tell. If you have those blue raw shrimp, it's very easy because they turn pink when they're cooked, so it's easy to tell. These are pink to start with, but you can see the difference. Like this one, can you see that? This one is, see, it has that nice char on, and it has a kind of opaque look to it. It's not kind of translucent anymore. It means it's pretty much done. They need very little time. In fact, if you cook them for too long, they will get rubbery. Okay, so I'm going to take these out now, believe it or not. Okay, then I'm going to turn this down slightly. I'm actually going to wipe this. No, I'm not going to wipe it. I'm going to keep that in it. I was going to wipe it out, but actually that smells too good to wipe clean. So I'm going to put a little more oil in, about another tablespoon. And then I'm just going to put all the vegetables that we diced and sliced and chopped back in there. Give them a little stir around. Okay, they won't take long at all. I would say 2 to 3 minutes probably. So you just want to keep them moving. Obviously, if you're at home and you have a wok, then that's ideal because it's really big and you get a really high temperature and they move around the bowl so you can toss them far easier. But here we've just got this so you can do the fancy chef thing, or you can just use a wooden spoon to make sure you don't spill them everywhere, depending on how confident you feel. All right, so now we're going to take the last bits of ginger and garlic. So that's the other half, so another centimetre or sort of half an inch of grated ginger goes straight in there. And the garlic. Remember, we're going to use the rest of that marinade as well, so that's going to go straight back in. Okay. You need to give that literally like a minute. You don't want the ginger and garlic to start burning. So if you add the shrimp back in, that'll help stop it burning because they're going to put more moisture in there. And then you put the marinade back in as well. And then I'm going to add the final tablespoon of soy sauce and rice wine. Give it a final stir and pop my noodles in. Now, that just needs enough time in the pan to soak up all those juices and reheat the noodles. The noodles have been cooked according to the packet instructions, so in boiling water for 2 to 3 minutes. You can cook them anytime. The most important thing to know about the noodles is that when they're cooked, rinse them in cold water and then run a little neutral oil through them, because then that will stop them sticking together, so then they come into the pan like this. If you just cook noodles and drain them and leave them, the starch on them will sort of bind them together and you'll just have this big noodle cake, which is obviously what you don't want. Okay, now, you can also just pull it into the middle with that pair of tongs or with a couple of forks. Just sort of place it around so it looks a little more presentable. Obviously, if you're eating this at home in front of the TV, it doesn't really matter too much, but I like my food to look nice even if I'm the only one eating it. So there you go. Very, very easy, very, very quick, spicy shrimp and stir-fried vegetables.